Hi, we will see Airtel Payments Bank Limited, how it's further financial inclusion, especially in India. Our group consists of Farid, Rafi, Ashraf, and myself. First, we will see the environmental factors and how it impacts payment banks. Specifically in India, India has more than 1.3 billion expected population in 2020. It is quite high number of population. Secondly, they also have high mobile phone users with expected 1.2 billion in 2020. Internet users also high. They are expecting around 650 million in 2020, while smartphone users is around 520 in the same year. So these are actually based on BCG and Google report focusing in India. Why these environmental factors are important, especially for payment banks, because in order for you to use their service, usually the payment banks will require you to install their app, mobile app, in your smartphones, and it requires internet data so that you can complete any transaction.
Thank you, HAAZIQ. So, hi everyone, I'm RAFIUDDIN ZULFADHLI. So, I'm going to talk about the SWOT analysis that we have actually performed on Airtel payments. So, SWOT analysis is the analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the company. So, as we know, there were about 11 companies that have been granted the license to conduct air payments activities by the Reserve Bank of India. In fact, Airtel Payments was actually the first company that was granted full license by the Reserve Bank of India to conduct these activities. So the strength of the company, so as we can see, Bharti Airtel was actually the largest telecommunication company in India. So what does this mean? So they actually covered about 87% of the India's population in terms of mobile network. So basically they covered the vast majority of the population. They had about 1.5 million retail outlets in India, and it already had an existing digital platform. So therefore, we can see that digitization of payment would be a simple task for this company. And then Kotak Mahindra Bank, it was actually one of the industry leaders in India in 2016. So this company would actually help the partnership in terms of the implementation of cash in and cash out services such as branches and ATMs, and also business correspondence. So its knowledge and connections within the financial industry would actually give a competitive advantage to the partnership. So the existing distribution channel such as ATMs and the existing customer base for Airtel users can be considered as strength for the company. And also among these competitors, Airtel payments were actually offering the highest interest rate on deposits at about 7.25%. Let's go to weaknesses. So despite its strength, they actually had some weaknesses. So we can see that some of the weaknesses in terms of price competitiveness, even though they were offering about the highest interest rate on deposit, but in terms of transaction fees, they seem less attractive compared to its competitors. For example, when it comes to cash withdrawal at the ATMs, they charge about 5 to 25 Indian rupees for cash withdrawals up to 4,000 Indian rupees. Whereas some of its competitors were actually able to give a you know to waive the transaction fee for the first 3 cash withdrawals in metropolitan areas, and then for the first 5 cash withdrawals in non-metropolitan areas. And on top of that, some of its competitors also gave higher insurance coverage, and also they offered debit cards for their users, whereas Airtel payments don't. On top of that, they are also facing some ethical issues recently, whereby they were accused, or they allegedly opened accounts without the user's consent, based on their customers' database, and they also failed you know uh, to inform their customers that they have opened an account with Airtel Payments. So their image have been tarnished by this controversy. So they have to come up with strategies to overcome this issue. As air payments is a new segment in India, so we can see that this has presented several opportunities for the company. For example, the large India's unbanked population. So the unbanked population in India stood at about 233 million in 2016. So then even the financially included population were considered as new to banking products. So this can be an advantage, or this can be an opportunity for Airtel Payments to actually tap the untapped market. So, and also there is a change in payment trend recently globally, whereby people are choosing people are preferring more cashless transactions. So there is a digitization trend, and also the customer base is growing. So for example, mobile phones were largely used in India, where actually more than 320 million people in India use them to access internet in 2017. So the number was also expected to increase to more than 460 million by 2021. So we can see that the customer base is growing, and also we can talk about the remittances from overseas to India. So they had the highest amount of remittances sent back home in 2017. So the amount was about 65 billion US dollars. So this figure, or this number, is expected to grow by 3.5% in 2018. So among the rural areas, we can see that there is an untapped market, and there is an opportunity for Airtel Payments to tap this market, that the customer base will be growing. And let's go to threats. There are several threats that Airtel Payments will face. So for example, as we know, air payments is a payment only business, so their only income is on transaction fee. So the business model is about high volume but low margin, so they have to tap the most market as they can, and also they have to reach to the mass as quickly as possible. They have to reach to the mass market like quicker than their competitors, because the switching cost is actually low, and also they have few products. For example, traditional banks can actually lend capital to their customers, but air payments businesses cannot actually lend their capital to other businesses or to their customers. This can actually help the bank to earn 4 to 10% more. So and then we can see, when we talk about low margin, we are expecting about less than 1% margin in the air payment segment. And finally, the market saturation. Since the beginning, they already had 11 players in the segment, and these players are very significant players. They had their own competitive advantages. So this can be a threat also for Airtel Payments. Thank you very much.
Highlight the possible role of Airtel Payments in financial inclusion and how it can promote inclusive growth. So since we are focusing in financial inclusion and inclusive growth, we will see first the number of population in the world that are unbanked. In 2017, there are around 1.7 billion adults, which are actually defined as more than 15 years old, that are unbanked, and out of this, more than 20% of them are actually in India. How Airtel Payments can provide or assist in inclusive growth is by penetrating towns and villages in rural areas, around 29 areas, states, more than 100 villages. They also target deep rural market of unbanked or underserved people in India. Thirdly, they also roll out together with a high number of merchants, so that their users can actually transact at these